Hello everyone, how are you doing? I hope you are doing well. Welcome to this video. This is the video part number 10 from the test-driven development video series, and if you didn't watch previous videos, you should watch this video playlist from part 0 one by one and in order. I'll put the link of this video playlist at the bottom of this video in the comment section. Okay, what's on the agenda in this video? Same as the last video, today we are going to complete the SoundX class implementation through test-driven development. But before that, don't forget to check out the session 10 branch. Okay, open up the Visual Studio Code. On a status bar, click branch button and then session 10 branch. Okay, we are done. Back to the SoundX specification. In the last sessions, we have implemented the rule number 3, a part of rule number 3, this part. But today we are going to complete the rest of this rule. I mean this part. Okay, this part states that duplicate encodings separated by a vowel should get encoded twice. Okay, let's implement a test case. Test f macro soundex encoding does not combine duplicate encodings separated by vowels. We need an assertion. You can copy the previous one and we should give it a new input. J, B, a vowel sound, and then B. It should return J1, 1, 0. Okay, let's run test cases to make sure it's failed. Alright, it's failed. Let's pass this test case. Open up the SoundX implementation. How can we pass this test case? We can change the conditional expression at this point, I mean in encode letter function, to append a digit only if it's not a duplicate, I mean this part, or if the last letter is a vowel. Okay, this declaration, this new expression drives a few corresponding changes. First of all, we should implement this function is a vowel. It should give a char. We can make a string that contains all of the vowel letters A, E, I, O, U, Y, and then we can search in this string. We should also make it lowercase, and then we can compare the iterator, the return value of find function, with this constant value. We should also change the encode tail function at this point to pass the last letter to the encode letter function. First of all, we should change the for loop. Then we can pass the letter, the current letter, and last letter. And also in encode function we should get the last letter. Alright, we should also change the isVal function to a const function. Alright, I think we are done. Let's run test cases to make sure it's passed. Okay, the compilation is failed. Okay, I made a mistake at this point. Let's run test cases again. We are done. All of the test cases are passed. Okay, now it turns to refactoring. Take a look at SoundX implementation more precisely. Take a look at these functions: upper, lower, head, tail, and isVal, also zero pad. I think we can move these functions to another classes. We can declare another class for string utilities, class string util. And we can move these functions to this new class. I think we can move tail function to a string util. Also, we should declare it as a free function, I mean a static function. Can also move head function to a string util, head function to we should also move zero pad function to a string util. Okay, zero pad function gives needs max code length. We can inject it. Max code length. Okay, that's it. And now we can call this function in Soundex class from string util. Zero pad also gives another parameter. It's max code length. We can move max code length to public section. We can give it to zero pad function. Sorry. Okay, that's it. Let's run test cases to make sure test cases are passed. Okay, all of the test cases are passed. We should also move upper and lower function and isVal to another class, and we can name this class char util. these two functions to char util. And we should also declare it as a free function. Also is val Okay, now we can call these functions from char util in Soundex class. And also char util. Alright, we're almost done. Let's run test cases to make sure it's passed. Sorry, I made a mistake. Let's run test cases again. Okay, all of the test cases are passed. We should also move these new classes to its own header file. Create a new header file called a string util. And move this class to a string util header file. We need a string. Okay, and move char util to its own header file. Create new header file and move char util to its own header file. Should also include these classes at this point. String util and char util. Alright, let's run test cases again. All of the test cases are passed. Okay, we could also refactor it more. We can create a new directory for header file and we can name it include, and then move all of the header file to include directory. Move char util to include directory, then Soundex, and then string util. Should also modify Soundex test to include Soundex.h. Let's run test cases again. Alright, all of the test cases are passed. We could also refactor it more. We can move the Soundex implementation to a source file, I mean CPP file. Okay, let's create a CPP file. Create a new file called soundex.cpp. Then include its header file. Now we can move these functions, encode to source file, move another function, encode digit, okay, encode digit function, encode head, the next function, now it turns to encode letter, the next function, last digit, and the final one is complete. Alright, we are almost done. Now Soundex interface or Soundex header file looks more clear. Okay, we can do the same for char util and string util, but before that, let's link Soundex implementation, I mean Soundex source file, to the build system. Open up the CMake list file and add this new CPP file to your code. At this point, Soundex CPP file. Okay, let's run test cases again. Sorry. Okay, all of the test cases are passed. Let's do the same for these functions. Okay, I think these new classes, char util and string util, they are not that much big. We can keep them as a header only file. Take a look at Soundex test cases to refactor. Okay, it's clean. Moving the functions out of Soundex isn't quite sufficient. I mean, moving the functions to char-util and string-util classes. The functions in their new home as public utilities need to be described so other programmers can understand their intent and use. That means they need test cases to show by example how a programmer might use them in their own client code. Okay, I give it to you as an exercise to implement the test cases for char-util and string-util classes. We're almost done. We test drove one possible solution for the Soundex algorithm. How a solution evolves is entirely up to you, and the more you practice TDD, the more likely your style will evolve. And remember, learning by writing code is more effective than reading code. Okay, we're coming to the end of this video. I took the Soundex example from Modern C++ Programming with Test-Driven Development book. This is a really great book to learn TDD. I strongly recommend you to read this book. Okay, that's all we have time for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you so much and see you later.